I recently moved into an old house out of town that was formerly the manager of some elderly couple. I got the house for next to nothing, and so I didn't pay much attention to the country warning from the realtor. Never go down in the basement at night. I laughed at that superstition. A basement is just like a basement, cold, dusty, with a creaky lead. There I put all sorts of unnecessary junk and rarely went down. But one day I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning to a strange sound. It resembled a faint knocking, as if someone was slowly, measuredly climbing the stairs. The footsteps got louder until they stopped right under the door to the basement. I thought it might be a mouse or even the wind, and tried to reassure myself. But then another sound came, a quiet creaking sound, as if someone was slowly turning the doorknob. At that moment, I realized that the door wasn't locked. I jumped out of bed, grabbed the nearest object, which turned out to be a heavy flashlight, and headed for the basement. The door was ajar. Behind it was nothing but darkness. I shouted, "Who's there?" But there was no answer. Instead, I heard footsteps begin to slow back down to the basement, faster now, almost running. With flashlight in hand, I decided to go down. I turned on the light and looked around all the corners. Nothing. But when I got to the bottom step, I noticed something strange. There were footprints on the dusty floor, barefoot, small, as if they were children, and they were right on the bare brick wall. I froze, not sure how that was possible. But before I could do anything, the light flickered on and off. As I looked, I heard someone whisper right in my ear, "You shouldn't have come down here." I jumped with surprise, turned around sharply, but of course no one saw. Only dark, too dense for such a tiny basement. I fumbled for the flashlight, turned it on again. The light came to life for a moment, revealing the same brick wall, but now something had changed on it. Amidst the old crack and stains, there was a new detail, scratched out text that hadn't been there before. The letters were crooked, as if someone had been in a hurry. They read, "Finish what you started." My heart was pounding like crazy. I wanted to run upstairs, lock the door, and never be in the basement again, but something held me back. A strange feeling, like I shouldn't do it. If I left, it would get worse. I walked over to the wall and ran my hand over the writing. The stone was cold and wet. And then I thought, the wall wasn't so hard. It gave in under my vacuums, as if there was something hollow inside. I grabbed the nearest tool, an old rusty crowbar I found in the garage, and began chiseling at the brick. Each blow echoed in the basement, but I didn't stop. With each layer of plaster that fell under my feet, the smell of dampness grew stronger. After a few minutes, I punched a hole in the wall. Behind it was a passage, a narrow, dark passage that led somewhere deeper underground. The silence was interrupted by a sound. No voices, no footsteps, but laughter. Childish, resonant, but far away, as if it came from the tunnel. I stood in front of the entrance, realizing I had a decision to make. To go back upstairs and never come down here again, or to find out what lurked in the darkness. Someone in my head was yelling, "Don't go!" But I had already stepped into the passageway, shining my flashlight to him. The farther I went, the more my throat constricted. The tunnel grew narrower and narrower, and the wall seemed to whisper. No, not seemed. I definitely heard the words, "Back, back, 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 back." But then I saw it. A room hidden in Turkey. Bare, with an earthen cavity. In the center, an old doll, time-worn with empty eye sockets, from which stretched a thin thread of cobwebs. And behind her was another door. As I approached, the doll cocked its head over. "You shouldn't come here," came a voice, but the doll's lips were motionless. The door behind me slammed shut,